Hi there and welcome to Living from the Heart. If you've watched my first video, you'll know I'm Olwen Jennings. I'm a channel, intuitive coach and healer, and I'm here on this channel working alongside my friend and colleague Helen Cornby to bring to you what we believe living from the heart is all about. But today, in this video, I thought I would share, a little bit like Helen did in her second video, how I got to this point. How did I become somebody who could channel the energy and the words of Jesus Christ? Because that is what I do as part of my work. Alright, so first of all, anyone can do this, by the way, but I am just an ordinary woman who comes from an ordinary background, and that's why I say anyone can do what I do. So, I come from a working class background in the northwest of England. I had a lovely home life with my mum, my dad, and my brother. I went to university. I was the first one in the family to go to university, actually. And I studied history and politics, actually, because they were my favourite subjects. And eventually I qualified to become a lawyer and ended up specialising in family law, so divorce, children issues, domestic violence, financial matters, that sort of thing. So, quite an academic way forward. And that's what I wanted to do. I have no regrets at all about that. It's just when you look back, as I'm sure many of you do, when you look back you realise that perhaps you weren't following your heart completely. But I am not going to say to you that I wish that I hadn't taken that path, because it's led me to where I am now. So as a child, I was pretty confident. I used to be quite sure of myself, actually, and know what I wanted to do. I knew from an early age I wanted to be a lawyer. I mean, who knows that? And I used to like being in drama classes, even though I wasn't the best actress or actor by any stretch of the imagination. I used to like reading poetry out loud in front of people at school. I used to like being the best in the classroom. So pretty confident on the outside. But there was always something within me that made me feel that I didn't quite fit in. I couldn't put my finger on it. You can't really when you're young. But I knew that I was different, or I felt different. Put it that way. What do I mean by that? Well, although I say I was confident in what I knew. So I was confident in the fact I was reasonably bright, and that as far as schooling was concerned, I could do that. I was quite good at that. But in other areas, sort of the social areas, the getting to know people areas, the areas of kind of play and fun, I wasn't so confident. And that's because, as I say, I didn't feel like I fitted in. And I guess you would call me a sensitive child. So somebody that would get upset quite easily, someone who would really care about others. Now, I might not have made many friends, but the friends I made, were deep connections. I was very caring. I still am, I hope. And I couldn't understand ever why anybody would be mean to somebody else. I couldn't understand it at all. In fact, I remember once, I don't know why I'm telling you this, but I remember once being sort of not forced, but encouraged, shall we say, by other members of my classes when I was only young, I was in primary school, to bully and pick on somebody else in the playground. Because, that was cool. And I really didn't want to do it, but I was desperate to fit in. So I was encouraged, I was told what to say to this person. And when you look back on it, it was so silly. And I'm so ashamed of it, really. And I would just go up to them. It only happened on one day. It was probably for 10 minutes, but it feels very big now. I'm talking about it, and I was encouraged, told more or less what to say. It was almost probably some sort of rite of passage. I don't know, and I kept going up to this person and telling them they were rubbish, they were no good. I can't remember now exactly what. It didn't make me feel good, but my other friends started to think that perhaps I was all right. Perhaps I was cooler than I appeared, because quite evidently by then, the children in my class and my friends, as I thought they were, perhaps realised I was different because I wasn't always going along with the games they wanted to play. Now, I did say sorry to that person, and I think they knew anyway that I was just going along with what I was being told. But the point I'm trying to make is, it's very easy, isn't it, to go along with what other people want you to do. Now, that's perhaps a bit of an extreme example, but I was only a child. And it's an example of the fact I was different. And as I've referred to earlier, I could really feel my feelings, and sometimes they were overwhelming, and I could also feel other people's feelings. So whenever anybody was upset, I'd be upset. But it wasn't, to get attention. It was genuinely, I felt upset for them. Anyway, I got through primary school, I got through secondary school. I guess in secondary school I learned a few techniques of, appearing more normal. And, it served a purpose, because you also do need to build some resilience in this world. But under all of this, I knew, or I realise now that I knew, I probably didn't realise then, that there was more to life than just living on this earth and being a human. I felt very connected to nature, especially trees. I felt they had an energy and a story to tell. I was very connected to birds. I was always rescuing them if I found they were injured. I would be looking up at the sky. I was obsessed with the moon and the stars and the sun, actually. And I was brought up to go to church, and that used to make me emotional as well, because of the power of some of the words that were said in the sermons. Not so much the whole philosophy of, go to church and your sins are forgiven. I don't really agree with that. But the actual words, some of the beautiful windows, and the light would come through. Just so beautiful. And I felt a real connection in my heart to there being more than just us, to there being a God, to there being a Jesus, to there being a Mother Mary. And also, when I was a teenager, I remember seeing a spirit in my bedroom, and I was really scared because I hid under the covers. But again, I just had this feeling of energy, of other beings perhaps being around us. At that time, I just thought it was people that had passed over. And I was a bit scared, but I was okay. And then, as a teenager and in secondary school, I decided, well, I can't be like this. This is really weird. And I also felt like I would know things before people said them and so on. I thought, well, no wonder people think I'm strange. I am. So I then started to put up barriers. And I didn't really fully let people in to my heart space, into my energy, because it was too painful quite often. Because I didn't feel people would understand me. Anyway, so I put that to one side. As I said, I went to university, I got my degree, actually met the man I ended up marrying. I qualified as a family lawyer, and I practiced that for a very long time. And actually, that role did fit with my life and who I am, because the bit about that role that I liked was the justice, was the balance, was seeking resolution, was seeing the transformation in my client once they'd been through such an awful time, was protecting people quite often if I had to get some sort of protection in place, was really putting myself in people's shoes as to how they would feel. But also, by now I realised I was an empath and I was able to feel it all anyway. So, that part I liked. The bit I didn't like was sometimes the law doesn't allow you to do what you feel is justice. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, that there's an extent to which you can take things. And it was very regimented in the way if I was with a client for too long but didn't charge them the right amount of money according to the partners in the law firm I was in at the time, then that wasn't good enough. I also probably cared too much and worked too hard and ended up having a bit of a breakdown. And I realise now that wasn't just the work, that was everything that had been building up to that point in my life where I hadn't perhaps been honest about the fact that I wasn't totally being myself. Because by then I was married, I was happily married, I still am, but I felt like I was starting to fall into the background a little bit because I was supporting my husband's career more than my own, perhaps. And then, of course, I had children. Now, it was when I had my son, my eldest son, that I could no longer avoid my spiritual side. And what I mean by that is I started to hear voices. Okay, now that is very weird, isn't it? And at first I thought maybe I was just going crazy because I'd had the best birth with him and I probably was suffering from postnatal depression. But I really knew it wasn't. And it was time to reconnect or properly connect with who I know have been guides that have worked alongside me and looked after me all my life. So then I explored that side of life. I went to a workshop which was called Are You Psychic? And through doing various exercises there, I realised maybe I was. And then I went down that road of the alternative. So I studied Reiki. I eventually became a Reiki master teacher. I also learned how to read tarot and oracle cards. I learned crystal healing. And I started to build a part-time business around that, so card readings and Reiki mainly. I also qualified as a life coach, so I brought that in. And yeah, it started to build, and I realised more and more that I had these guides working alongside me who wanted to work through me. And then, I carried on being a lawyer for a while because it was safe, it was bringing in some money. But eventually, my heart was calling me more towards this work. So I'm no longer practicing as a lawyer, I haven't been for a while now. And I've been focusing on bringing transformation in a different way. And, each time I learned different lessons about myself, because to be on this journey, it's really about a self-healing journey and about realizing who you are, and realizing what you're here to do. So I realised my guides wanted to start to work through me more. So what I mean by that is for me to verbally channel them, because sometimes what would happen is in a card reading or any other sort of coaching session, I'd be thinking, my logical mind would be going, oh, is that right? But with channeling, it just comes straight through. So it sort of pushes my logical mind out of the way. And then the more I developed that, the more I realised that one of my main guides was Jesus Christ. And he is a beautiful energy. And I have brought through his messages many a time in different events. And it's just pure love. And he has taught me how to live more from my heart, how to love myself, because that was always a big issue, because I never felt good enough. And yeah, he's taught me a lot. Anyway, and also I questioned, who am I to be channeling Jesus Christ? And, people are going to think I'm crazy, and maybe people will, but who am I not to? He wants me to. He says he can't be here, so he has to use people like myself. I'm not the only one that channels him. And as I said earlier, anyone can. Who am I not to bring through messages of love and hope, and to help you be more loving towards yourself, more compassionate towards yourself, to know how much you are loved, because sometimes we feel lonely. We're so busy with our lives, we forget that there's another element to our lives, which is the unseen, which is the spiritual, and which really looks after us. We all have angels and guides that look after us, and we are so loved. We are so loved. They don't want anything from us apart from us to live our lives from joy, from a place of joy and from a place of love. And just imagine if everyone lived from a place of love and joy. It doesn't mean that you don't go to work and have, a proper job, as it were. It doesn't mean any of that, but it just means that when you are in that job or when you're doing anything, it comes from this place of unconditional love for yourself and for the rest of mankind and for the very earth we are living on. So, I hope that explains me a bit. I apologise if I have waffled, but I felt like what I needed to say came through. And in our next videos, Helen and I will be working together to start to bring you the messages that you need to hear according to Mother Mary and Jesus, and also to share our wisdom, how we both went from kind of good academic, well, maybe academic, I don't know, good girls that did everything we were meant to do, to girls, women, who are now realizing that there's a different way to be. And we want to share that with you. Alright, so if you're feeling frustrated, if you're feeling lost, if you're feeling like you need a dose of hope and love, then this is going to be the channel for you to watch. I hope. That is certainly our intention. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there because I realise I've gone on for far too long. And any comments, please place them under the video and one of us will get back to you. And we'll see you soon. Take care. Bye for now.